You don't want to miss out? Subscribe now to the Cranky Live Sports Talk on YouTube and hit that bell icon to never miss an episode.
Cranky Live Sports Talk, where sports come alive. Subscribe today.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. One love. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. As you join the chat, do me a favor and hit that like button. So we can get others to watch the show. I figured it's going to be a small crowd today because people like to talk sports and Reggae Boys football, and today is about something a little bit different, something a little bit more esoterical, something a little more challenging, puzzling, riddle is the discussion today. So I'm not going to do my traditional soliloquy about today's news and what's happening. It's going to be a short show. It's not a long show. But I want to focus on the topic. You know, most times I'm jumping around talking about a variety of different things and not zoning in, but I want to zone in this evening. So I'm not going to talk about Trump and tariff and all that stuff, even though it's very tempting, to be honest, given what's transpiring. I'm sure some of you will bring me down a certain path that I may not want to go down. But I'm thanking you for being here and to participate in today's discussion. So we're going to talk about. Welcome to the show. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. Share the channel and subscribe if you haven't done so. Tonight, we're unpacking a question that haunts a lot of different people, whether it's poets, scientists, priests, and philosophers. And as you see in the thumbnail, is life one giant, mind-blowing paradox? That means, is life almost innately a contradiction? And why do we have this contradiction? So think about it. We love people, but the same people will hurt you, right? You're told that hard work is the key to success, but frankly, the hardest workers often die poor by working themselves to death. And then frankly, I think that saying is changing a little bit more to work hard and work smart, not just work hard. If you think about what's happening in today's environment, and historically, given when Caucasians migrated to this country, given what happened with slavery, given what happened across the globe, and even today, the Palestine-Israeli situation, we fight over race, even though we're probably 99% genetically similar or the same. Some people are born into luxury, others in war zones, and yet we say God made us all. We're all his children. He has no preferences. Good evening, Sean. Thanks for being here. So the question is life a paradox? As I talked about before, you love people who hurt you. Hardest workers aren't the richest people. We fight over race continually. So you know what we should do? Let's explore this madness to get together. And so maybe life doesn't add up because it probably is not supposed to add up, which is interesting. So here's the thing first I'm going to do, people. I'm going to do this. We have a poll. Do you believe life makes sense? So 1 is for yes, 2 for no, 3 for sometimes. And 4, it's not supposed to make sense. I'm gonna wait for you to drop your thing. You just have to drop 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat. It's your perspective. There's no right or wrong answer. Do you believe life makes sense? Yes, no, sometimes it's not supposed to make sense. And we have 18 people or 16 people. We should get 16 responses. Because I'm sure everybody has a perspective. Oh, Lord. Here Sean goes. The Anukkah made us in their image from the emeritus. We all have our views. So first responder says, do you believe life makes sense? Okay, first responder says, yes, it makes sense. That's an interesting one. One Love says yes, even though so we have first 2 people said yes, life makes sense. Come on, people. We have more people here. As I thought it was going to be a small crowd this evening. If you just come and hit the like button, this is a different discussion. This is not Reggae Boys discussion. This is not sports discussion. Jason Guna says sometimes. Interesting answer, Jason. And can't debate it. There's no wrong or right answer, people. Just want to see where we come out. Does the good old thing called life make sense? Now I get 3 answers and we have 18 people in the chat. Come on. It ain't gonna hurt your finger. Just drop it. Paul Smith says, yes, life makes sense. So we have 3 make sense and 1 says sometimes. So we're back in 75%. Yeah. Sean wants to start from Egypt. Well, we're going to get to it, Sean. Pyramid of Egypt. Interesting. DC says, sometimes life seems to follow a certain order, which other times even events seem totally random. So DC is saying sometimes. Drew Ross is saying sometimes. So we don't have any no, and we don't have any number 4. It's not supposed to. So either it does sometimes, or it makes sense from what I'm seeing. Come, we need more responses. Come on, we have, as you come in the chat, people. There's a poll up here. I'm gonna wait a little bit for this poll. It says, does life make sense? And you have 4 answers. You have yes, no, sometimes. It's not supposed to. You can hit 1, 2, 3, or 4. Does life make sense? No more answers. Does life make sense? Come on, people. It's not going to hurt to just drop something in the chat to say yes or no. All right. People don't want to participate in this poll. It's an interesting question, actually. So let's move on. So let's think about what we call everyday contradiction. You're told to be real, but the internet rewards filters and fake, right? You got to curate your brand. You're told to hustle hard, but you're also told that rest is a virtue. Midnight Cowboy says 1, life makes sense. You're told to love deeply and fearlessly, but then to also guard and protect yourself, protect your heart. Don't let that little thing get hurt. You're also told to be humble. And I hear some people talking about this whole humble thing. I don't think it applies to Jamaican, by the way. But you're also told to promote yourself and build your personal brand online. All these things are contradiction, people. All these things which supposedly are words of wisdom, they're contradiction. DC said, there's that quote, man makes plans, God laughs. That's an interesting one. But we're told to plan, right? In DC, we say, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Aren't we told that all the time? And I'm sure we believe that to our down to the whatever in our body. The system said that you should chase your dreams, but you also shouldn't step out of line. So it's like you're swimming through mixed signals on a continual basis every single day. So I'm going to ask you, I got one from DC. Good evening, Conrad Smith. I got one from DC, which is this. What is the biggest contradiction you deal with on a daily basis? Drop it in the comment. And I'll post it up here. Tell me what the biggest contradiction you deal with on a daily basis. Sean says, God having an experience through you are part of God. God having an experience through you, you're part of God. Okay. Interesting. First responder said, just know we were made with the freedom of choice. Let me know your biggest contradiction you deal with daily, people. Just know we were made with the freedom of choice. So you're saying, first responder, God made us to do what we so choose. But isn't that dangerous, first responder? Because we all may not be virtuous. We all may not be good. So if I give you the option to do things of your own volition, I'm supposed to be God and know exactly what you're going to be doing. And I should know if you're evil, right? Isn't that a contradiction? Isn't that a contradiction? Is that logical? I'm not sure how logical that is. If an omnipotent being gave you to make decision of your own volition, of your free will, but then that omnipotent being should also know if you're going to misuse that freedom, right? So how does that work? That's an interesting one. Now, I threw AI in this mix as a paradox because, as part of this whole paradox discussion, because AI helps us connect, but I think we are probably more isolated than ever, inclusive in the use of AI. Good evening, Investor documentary. AI enhances creativity, but it also kills job. It displaces human beings, right? It speeds up creativity, but it threatens jobs. It can mimic empathy, but it has no soul. Paul Smith said, I'm trying to make sense of religion. I'm trying to make sense of life, Paul. There's a difference. Religion is a whole different thing. Religion is a get-together. It's like I want to call it a cult. But religion to me is just a place where people get together to celebrate and worship and come together and do a bunch of different things. That's different from the whole concept of the existence of the universe and of mankind. Because mankind is just one small one aspect of the universe. AI is nothing. AGI is the next level. Okay, interesting. Now, if you think about things like race, for example, because we're trying to make sense of all of this, right? We're nearly identical in terms of DNA as you think about people. So biologically, we are pretty similar, yet we're divided by and obsessed over skin tone, zip codes. Some people get darker by getting tan. Others, as we know, especially coming from Jamaica, will bleach their skin to get, well, you can call it, it's not tan, it's the opposite, right? Trying to get to a complexion they think is the desirable by many in society. And we are told we're all equal in God's eyes, but some are born in palaces, some are born in mansion, others in extreme poverty. So where does that equality reside? And if we're equal in God's eyes, what does that equality equate to? It's not our financial situation. It's not our wealth. What does it equate to? And that's challenging, difficult, don't have an answer. So do you think life is fear? And if you don't think life is fear, why not? I'm gonna wait for your response. Right? I'm gonna wait for your response. Do you think life is fear? Given that all you know throughout history and all we're experiencing today, do you think life is fear? First one, the maker don't want people to obey him out of fear. That's why one day he will reward those who choose the hard discipline to make the hard choices. I know this was I didn't want this to spiral down into the creator and religion, which is always the direction it ends up in. So I'll come back to you first. First one, let me take you first. First of all, I'll say this. So first responder, what about those people who don't believe in a creator? What are those people who believe that life is random, the universe is random, there was a black hole, an explosion that brought us here? What about those situations? Or does that matter? So Drew Ross says, why don't you think life is fear? DC doesn't believe. So Drew Ross and DC, so all one love, Drew Ross, DC say all doesn't believe life is fear. So why? Give me the rationale why you say life is not fear. Conrad said, ask AI where black people was in 1400. Well, what AI is going to tell you is what some Caucasian tell us where we were. You got to be very careful with that. Some questions you don't want to know the answer because then you're going to know AI is biased. You just want pure data based on facts. You don't sometimes want these suppositions because you may not like the outcome. Neil deGrasse Tyson is the right man to ask. Oh no, I Neil is very, very smart, and I listen to him quite a bit. And I think he's agnostic when it comes to God, even though if you hear him talk, I'm not sure he believes. But Neil doesn't have all the answers either. Neil doesn't have all the answers. Neil doesn't know where man came from. Neil can tell you about some black hole and how this all come together. If you were growing up in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, probably 80s, you were told that there were only 12 planets. right? And you were told the universe, that's entailed the universe. Now you know the universe is infinite. So we can only communicate and provide information about what we know based on our learnings. And that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson is doing. So first responder said, good point. For those who don't know better, they will be judged on moral law. Yeah, but we got to be careful with that, right? Because every religion believes that they're the right religion. Talk about Muslims or Christians or Hindu. So what did the Arawaks believe? What did the Incas believe? Have we thought about that? They weren't celebrating the God you're celebrating. They were celebrating some deity. The question is, where does the deity concept come from? Is it because there's an unknown and we believe that there must be a higher power and that's built into us, and whoever made us built that into us? Where did that come from? So DJ said, I definitely don't believe that life is fair. I'm not sure that as human beings, perhaps we are too tribal, self-centered to want to grasp certain higher truths. So let's go to, I'll come back to that. Let's go to this. Let's talk about race and fairness. As I talked before, the whole DNA, if you think about what's happening in Palestine, you think what's happening for slavery, you think about just across the world in general, whether it's a class, whether it's race, whether it's location, it's crazy, right? Some people are born into war zone and they're not born into, well, why would somebody be born into Sudan in a war zone or born to Palestine or somebody born into the monarchy in the UK, for example? Who makes that decision? How does that work? And this is also to be created by a just God. So I know people like first responder will take me on this. Isn't that a contradiction, people? Isn't that a contradiction? Let me know. That has to be a contradiction. So let's go to the whole cosmic paradox, right? We talked about something being created from nothing. Someone asked you the question, what is nothing? Just try to imagine this, people. Think about the universe and life and earth and sun and rain. Can you imagine a nothing in a universe? Let me hear this. I'm curious about this. And how does one create something from nothing? Right? Which, by the way, would include, how does one create something from nothing? Science says the universe came from nothing. However, we are taught that everything has a beginning. Everything has a beginning. So how can scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson say that it comes from nothing when something has to come from something? So let me stop here for a second and take some of these. This is a race, the social construct, and humans seem to have a difficult time grasping this. Many fights are over land, access to wealth. Yes, human beings to me are a lot of human beings, I'm not going to say all, are not inherently good. And we have one in the White House, so they're going to do bad things. First responder says, past people follow what they knew and were good or bad in their habits, will be judged by their societal law. Yeah, but I thought everyone's going to be judged by God eventually, so societal law doesn't really matter. Connor says, who the first one was here in Jamaica and what happens to them? A lot of people don't know. Yeah. Sean says there are 2% of differences in genes when it comes to races. This scientific yes, not a lot of differences, and yet the races can't get along. P said, there you go again with God theories. The minute you bring God into it, it makes no sense. But here's the thing, Paul. Paul, I'm gonna beat you tonight, Paul. We're gonna get to this. Let me just say this. So science said the universe came from nothing. I don't know what that means because it says you have to have a beginning. It's a contradiction. This is all contradiction, people. Also, you say for everything has an effect and a cause, right? So what caused the first one? Everything has a cause and an effect, or an effect and a cause. That'd be a cause and an effect, or chicken and the egg. What was the first cause and first effect? If God, so here's the question people don't like and get uncomfortable. So let me drink some water before I say this one. This is the uncomfortable question, people. And we call it uncomfortable truth. All right, so here's the one. If God made the universe, I don't know where I'm going with this, right? Then who made God? Because Christians and individuals in life in general get very uncomfortable with this question. They say you're blaspheming. Now, that's what you do to hold people down in terms of thinking. Because if God made a person and made us and know what we're going to say and what we're going to think, then why would God give us the ability to even ask the question? And if God created this entire infinite universe, where does God reside? And who made God? But can only make but God is the inception. So God has to make everything, but then where did God come from? Well, first responder, you first have to believe the whole story about Noah. So here's where we have the challenges, people don't seem to realize. When you start bringing up these biblical things, some people don't believe in the Bible at all. And the whole Jesus and Old and New Testament, including somebody I know who's talking on the mic right now. I don't believe in the Bible. I think the Bible is a nice book. I think the Bible is a good book to read and to understand and probably have some learning from because it's human experiences. But the Bible is also one walking contradiction. And here's a contradiction. Many in the Bible has preferences in terms of the Israelites, right? Versus the, what do you call them? I've read my Bible in a long time. I can't say how long. But you have the Israelites and who they always fighting against. And supposedly the Bible and God prefer the Israelites. What kind of cockamamie story is that? Does anybody believe that nonsense? Seriously. That's not saying you don't believe in a God, but the concept that unmitigated, fear, omnipotent being who has no partiality, who believes in equality, not believes, who is equality, because God is everything, is going to prefer one set of people to another. That means the people who wrote that were those people. Right? The people who wrote that were those people who write that nonsense. It's just like you see Trump now trying to change history to say, when you talk about the railroad and I'm having a senile moment right now. Whoever was the Underground Railroad, he's trying to change that whole construct to say it was about unity and some sort of nonsense. They're changing the narrative. Man does that. Only man does those things. Good night, Chris Smith. Good night, Jay Russ. Only man does those things, people. If the Big Bang, so let's go to the whole science now, because I have a problem with science too. If the Big Bang banged, what banged the Big Bang? So we have this Big Bang. We have this black hole that's explode and create life. Lord help us. So where the bang come from for the Big Bang? So you can tell me about Neil deGrasse Tyson and what he says. And Neil deGrasse is a brilliant person, listen to him all the time, good for TV. He still can't tell me where the Big Bang come from, or where the bang for the Big Bang come from. What caused the Big Bang to occur? Because I'm told and I'm taught, and the way I see life is that there's an origination point. So you agree with me, God theories makes no sense. No, a lot of them doesn't make any sense. A lot of them doesn't make any sense. No, I agree. A lot of them doesn't make any sense. And here's the thing too. When you're growing up, so here's what I realize. Religion and the Bible and people use fear as the means for you not to query these things. You're going to go to hell. You're going to burn. And the head is under the earth. It's not in the air, Heaven is in the air with milk and honey. I am lactose intolerant. I can't drink milk. Sorry, I want no milk. And honey is not good for you. At least if it's too sweet, it's not good for you. Right? So at the end of the day, I'm not into that. And yes, logic only goes to a point. Logic only goes to a point. Now, here's the next poll, actually, people. Let me take this down. Do you believe the universe had a beginning? Yes, no, you're not sure. Let me know. Do you believe the universe had a beginning? This is where it gets interesting, actually. Yes, J. Russ. That's the question we're asking J. Russ. Who created the person who created the universe? It's a good question. So let me know, people, on the poll. Do you believe the universe had a beginning? Yes or no? Yes. And wait, you can also understand the fear too, Paul Smith, right? The fear makes sense, right? The fear makes sense. And look, some people, they get so nervous when you have these discussions. I have a family member. I can't have the discussion with her because she grew up, them country girl who just grew up in a certain place and grew up in the Bible 24/7, go to church 24/7 all her life. You can't tell her, as I say, Jamaica, nothing. You cannot tell her anything. You can't even have and she has a 2 master's degree, undergrad degree. You cannot have the conversation. She's not having it. Not having it. Jera says, no, it always was. Even when that makes no sense, but beginning would need a catalyst. But where would the catalyst come from? Yes, that's $1 million question. Voice says, the Bible says, okay to beat your slave. Not sure how black people can believe in that book. because it's man who wrote it. And those men who wrote it probably have slaves. So people, the poll people, tell me, do you believe that the universe had a beginning? Yes, no, or you're not sure? Do you believe the universe had a beginning? Atheist? No, you don't have to be an atheist. You don't have to be an atheist. Because you don't believe in the Bible doesn't mean you don't believe in God, or omnipotent being, or beings for that matter. Because no one ever thought about there's an omnipotent being. So you know what? To make this more believable, shouldn't it have been an omnipotent beings versus a being? Because it's hard to envision any one being be able to create an infinite universe. Millions and billions of miles between points. Respondent said, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, but I agree with you that some things are hard to understand. Why would a God want you to fear? Isn't fear a man disposition? Does it make any sense that a being that is so powerful, so everlasting, so almighty, so all-knowing would want you to fear that being? Or even worse, let me go deep into this, would want you to worship? Isn't worship a man thing? If I'm that great, why would I want what? I got ego. Man has ego. God can't have no ego. If God is that great, omnipotent, where does the ego come from in a God? Man has ego. Man want to be worshipped. Donald Trump wants to be worshipped. In fact, he's being worshipped now. But all the countries he can put tariff on. Why would a God want the subjects to fear him or her? Does that? I can't even say him or her because that's not right. Because human beings believe that they were made in God's image. That's nonsense too. That's nonsense. That's how man is. Man is very egotistical, Man believes whoever made us, we were made in that deity image. Right? That's man's ego. So man has thrust himself into this, or herself. This man, because woman didn't do this. Man write the Bible. Man thrust himself into this and want to be viewed as an important aspect of the universe when we have no idea where the universe come from. We have no idea how the sun work with the earth in terms of if the sun burns out, what the hell happened to all of us? We don't have the idea. We just make up stuff as we go along. DC said, I've been thinking a lot about continuum. What is the beginning? What is the end? Some people say birth is the beginning, death the end, but is it? Well, birth can't be the beginning because who's going to do the birthing? Who's going to be born? The birth has to come from someplace. So think about human beings. We produce each other. So, but what's the inception point? First one said, cranky. Remember, I said choice is not fear, as it fear is acknowledgement and respect. Okay. GX, it's a question nobody has answer for. Only believe that only pulling people apart. Yeah. And Jera said, we can't even explain consciousness. I know. So, Jay, that's a great point you're making right there. That's a great point you're making. I'll say this. Have you ever realized? So here's one that's deep. Have you ever realized that so think about this one and tell me if I'm right. Have you ever realized that when you're asleep, when you're awake, but you don't know when you're sleeping? If you're dreaming. Repeat that. When you're conscious. Right now, I know I'm awake. And you're awake because you're in the chat with me, communicate with me. But this actually could be a dream, right? Because when you're dreaming, you could go through the same process and you would know you're dreaming. But when you're awake, you're awake. Isn't that also a significant contradiction and a paradox? When you're awake, but you don't know when you're sleeping, even though you're dreaming when you're sleeping. Does that make any logical sense? No. You know when you're dreaming when you wake up, J. Ross. There's no such thing. You don't know when you're dreaming when you're dreaming. It's real. If you think you know when you're dreaming, you don't know when you're dreaming. Nah, you know when you're dreaming. You know it when you wake up. Not when you're in it. When you're in it, you don't know. When you wake, go back and think about that, DC. When you wake up, you realize it. When you're in it, it's real. You don't know. If anybody can tell me they know when they're dreaming while they're dreaming, then maybe you're a deity. DJ said we don't make time for consciousness, don't we? So let me go to another item I want to bring up here, which is becoming the more popular thing nowadays. So, and this is an interesting one. Maybe, so are these things mirage or illusions? So maybe silence isn't really silent. Maybe nothing isn't really real, right? If you just think about these things. Because if you just think about it, is this whole love and identity and success, is it all a mirage? Especially given our time here is limited. Sometimes we are chasing to survive, but we're never fully grasping. Because the more, it's like water in the desert. The closer you get, the closer you get to it, the more it sort of vanishes, right? It's a mirage. And maybe the whole concept of love and truth and all that is just mirages. So it's really interesting, actually, because I have been struggling, actually, with the whole concept of the origination of people. Because I always believe that I'm a logical person. So everything has logic to it. First responder says, Christianity, politics, and sex are touchy points, and I would never force them on anyone. Just that personally, it makes me contented. Yeah, look, we shouldn't avoid uncomfortable conversations, right? Yeah, DC, silence speak volumes. That's that oxymoron. We shouldn't avoid difficult conversations, and we shouldn't avoid uncomfortable conversations. Because you have to master those things. You could always got to master things that are challenging. You shouldn't avoid them. Now let's think about AI, for example, because this is an interesting direction we're going in. Is AI our greatest invention or our greatest mirror? So let's think about AI. It's logical, but it learns bias, or the people make it bias. It's fast, but AI sort of lacks wisdom. Doesn't have creativity. Doesn't have deductive reasoning. AI knows everything, but really understands nothing. It lacks true consciousness. So think about this, and that highlights the current limitation of AI. While AI can process and retrieve vast amount of information, it actually lacks true comprehension and what I would call contextual awareness. Because it operates mainly on patterns and statistical correlations than genuine understanding, right? You just process a ton of data. Now, I know researchers are, and I heard about something that happened at Google and at Meta previously. I know researchers are working on developing AI systems that can achieve a higher level of understanding, but current AI is primarily focused on sort of pattern recognition and data processing, based on, I would call it people's experiences, and try to put these information together. But I sort of heard previously that at Google and at Meta that AI was developing consciousness. Don't know how true that is. And they had paused some of what they were doing. But now the gloves are off because everybody's doing it and everybody wants to be the one that's ahead of the game. So I would say that AI is probably the ultimate contradiction. A proof that intelligence isn't the same as its meaning, right? You say it's artificial intelligence, and yet it's not creative. It doesn't have consciousness. It has to be sort of programmed to do what it does. He says, I don't think AI is going to go the direction we think it all will. The inventors of the World Wide Web never envisioned so able to utilize in commerce. Yeah, DC, you make a good point. And the point you're making is, do we believe the direction of travel for AI is where it currently is? I think we just realize that AI is in its infancy and we have no idea where it's going to end up. AI is a beautiful tool right now, but it may become the detriment of mankind. The law of unexpected consequences. Yes, I totally would agree with that one. It's an interesting situation where AI is and what it can accomplish and what its potential is. And the question for everyone is, where will it all end up? And what's the timeline for it? So let me just say this. You were born into a riddle. We breed paradox. And here's the thing about all of this. Whether you believe in the Big Bang, whether you believe in almighty deity, whether you are agnostic and don't really believe in anything, the one thing that seems to be something which we do know, right, is that we're not going to solve the riddle of life. And maybe you were meant to feel it, not to necessarily solve it. Whoever made us didn't give us the capability to figure out how we got here. But that paradox is so tangible you can actually touch it. Bless our paper plate. Thanks for joining. That paradox of life itself, what life entails, and the fact that we are taught, and it gives you about man experiences we are taught that everything has a beginning and an end. And yet we cannot explain the inception of life. We can't explain where the universe comes from. Also, what's really interesting is you guys can tell me this. Let me know this. Can you envision what nothing actually looks like? I think that's the question we got to think about, actually. What does nothing look like? Does anybody have any idea what nothing looks like? And if it does have a look, then can it be nothing? That whole concept of nothing, I've been trying to imagine no universe, no people, no animals, no stars, no planets. And I can't envision it. Because no one is able to teach you what that would necessarily look like. Because even if it's all dark, that's still a look. Well, yeah. Well, we asked the question, what is nothing? That's the question is, what does nothing look like? Or you could ask another way, which is, what is nothing? What is deemed to be nothing? Okay, if you have a bucket and it's empty, it's still a bucket. You just don't have anything in the bucket. So what actually is nothing? Ever tried to meditate? Yeah, but you see darkness. That's still something. Hey, DC, when you meditate, you see darkness. Everything is dark, right? That's not nothing because you're seeing darkness. There's a darkness there. And if it's dark, that means it's something. Maybe there's no such thing as nothing. Yeah, that's man don't know what nothing is, then says that Drew Ross. There's no such thing. Darkness is something, people. No, if it's open space, you can see it is something. Come on, people. That's something. You guys are thinking about nothing from the concept of I can touch something. I can hold a physical, tangible thing. No. Darkness is something. Outer space is something. I don't know what nothing looks like. Here's got to think about this. Imagine gunners are cranky. It's harder for a camel to make it through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to make it. Being rich is setting up for hell. Hey, gunners, you have a Colleen. Come on, beat you. With them comment, the gunners. But there's some people. So yeah, I say, only poor people are going to heaven. All the rich people, them bust them butt every day, work hard, spend how much time go become a doctor, like Dr. Dan, who we know say have enough money. Dr. Dan, we know if you're there. And work hard. I know they might make some money. You say them to give up the money and become communists and socialists. Then have to keep the money because they won't get rich. People, really? You know some people? As some rich people write the Bible, you know. As some rich people write the Bible. Here's my concept. Here's my idea. Them write the Bible. They want to keep the masses down. So them tell them, say, if you have money, You got hell. While them hoard up the money. The evangelists them in the US, the pastor them you see I drive them private jet. That's what I'm telling people, you know. The pastor fly them private jet. So they want a $60 million jet and $30 million jet. And if you contribute money to them coffers, them use the Bible as an instrument to do evil. If you have poor people give them the money, you don't have no money, you have to give 10% tithe. People, you make $20 an hour, you have to give them 10%. So you have to give them, before taxes, $2 to 20. You can't even buy food. But if you support them with them rich lifestyle, and you have to suffer. The concept of if you're rich, you're going to go to hell, it's actually offensive, actually. Why do I say it's offensive? Because that's why we talk about all this contradiction tonight. If you're telling me I should spend my... So you're telling me, so say Cranky and CC, right? CC and Cranky start out the same, they're my brothers, and I see them household. CC decide to work hard, study every day for 4 or 5 hours, go to high school, go to university, become a trader on Wall Street, make enough money. Cranky decide, when up on the corner, he must smoke some weed, and he must just relax. So CC get rich, and Cranky was poor. So them both decide, say, they must be religious and go to church. You tell me, say, CC have to give up him rich, and Cranky you go to heaven. You know, Cranky the one not contribute to society. How can I come in the story them thing the star? People. Logic is eluding me. I know everything is not logical in life, because life itself is not logical. There's the whole concept of nothingness and weird, but them kind of reasoning there make me head spin. Spin. Huh? What you say, Gunners? So, Gunners, what are you saying, Gunners? But Gunners, what you quoted now is in the Bible, in Gunners. So, I beat you, but I beat you for suggesting that we should digest that and appreciate it, because I believe it was actually the rich people those times, those landowners who wanted to, and those kings and monarchs who wanted to control the masses, make them feel guilty about acquiring wealth, and they have all the wealth and keep the wealth. The missionaries people and all these other people, when they go to Africa, they have the Bible in the right hand, they have the Bible in the left hand, and then they have the sword and the gun in the right hand, and them enslave the people them and says, okay, because you know what? They didn't think of us as human beings, as equal. We were like other animals. Good night. Hello? Hello?
Hey, Cranky, how's it going, man? Hey, Cranky.
Good night. Yes, I'm hearing you. Who am I speaking to?
Dave.
Good night, Dave. What do you want to say, Dave?
And I'm just listening to your show, man. Usually I listen to your show. Usually you guys talk about football.
Tonight's a different night.
I mean, yeah, man. Tonight is a different night. Yeah, but I don't understand what you're saying, though. Are you saying that you don't believe in God?
I'm saying I don't believe in the Bible. There's a difference.
Oh, okay. But you do believe that there is a God.
I believe there's an omnipotent being. It may not be the God that you're thinking about, but I believe, if I'm going to believe in something, I believe there's an omnipotent being. Now, don't ask me where the being come from, because I have no idea. And I'm going to question that too. So even though I may believe that there's one, I'm going to ask you where it comes from. I used to have this discussion with Jehovah's Witness all the time. They come to my door and say, if you can tell me where God come from, I can talk to you all day. If you can't, we can't have a conversation. So we can't have it two ways, people. We can't say, one second, Dave, we can't say this, Dave, which is everything is logical until we get to a certain point, and then we're saying, I'm going to throw logic out the door. Or I'm going to say, oh, I can't question that because God don't want me to question it. Then why would God make you and give you the ability to do so?
Yeah. But you think that human beings, right? You think that we have the ability to know everything that there is, and there's certain things that we just cannot know.
Well, there's certain. Well, why is that? Why is that? Why?
Well, I think there are certain things in life that we just can't explain.
Right, but why can't we learn? Why can't we find out? Why can't we find out?
Well, science can't explain everything that there is, right? I mean, if you believe in science, then you believe that we evolve, right? So you do believe that human beings, you believe in evolution, or you believe that people were created by ultimate being.
So I don't believe. Well, okay, it's an interesting one. So here's what happened. So if you grew up in the church like I did until I was at early teens, you're influenced by certain thinkings and certain learnings, and you can't get them out of your system no matter what you try to do. Right? They may get mitigated, they may get lessened, get them out of your system. So I was taught that there's a God, there's a Jesus, there's a Bible, there's Old and New Testament, all this stuff, right? And later on in life, you learn about evolution and the black hole and explosion and all that. But the one question you can't get answered is this: what is the universe creation by scientists from the black hole, or whether it's the concept of God and creator? No one can tell you the inception of the universe or the inception of life. They can't give you any good answer that make any sense, because we are taught that something has everything has a beginning.
So you do believe everything has a beginning?
Well, you don't know. You're taught that, but you don't know if there is actually. Because if you're going to say everything has a beginning, then where the hell does the universe come from? Where does it begin from? What's the starting point? And if you say there's no beginning, how can something just exist without beginning someplace? That's the conundrum.
Okay, so you don't. Okay, so you don't agree that God created the universe, but you also don't agree that everything evolved from nothing, according to what science says. So you're basically an agnostic then.
I'm edging to the side of saying I believe there's a deity, but I don't know where the deity comes from. I hate to use the word agnostic because agnostic means, well, agnostic means you don't know, right? And in my case, exactly. I don't know, but if I'm going to believe something, I'd probably be on the side of conservatism of saying there is a God versus on the side of this black hole, because the black hole makes less sense to me. You know why the black hole makes sense to me? Is why it does make less sense to me, because everything seems to be connected, right? The whole human being and how we survive, all the animals, all the earth, it all seems like it's all planned and coordinated, right? It seems to make sense. Someone can say it's happen chance, which is, right? Things in the universe link. So therefore, that's why it linked and not a person. But the concept of a God is even more far-fetched than the black hole, you know?
No, I think, well, if there is a God, and God is unlimited, right, in all his ways, and we're limited human beings, then it would be impossible for us to be able to explain the ways of the unlimited, because we're limited beings. The limited cannot explain the ways of the unlimited. That's just mathematically impossible.
But the limited did try to explain the ways of the unlimited in the Bible. Didn't it? The Bible does that.
But even if you look, but even if you look at logic in itself, let's not look at the Bible right now. If you look at logic itself, though, I mean, God in itself would be the uncaused cause, the one who caused everything. If God is a supernatural being,
right? But we haven't explained where God came from. We're always avoiding that question.
Yeah, but that, like I said, a limited being cannot explain the ways of the unlimited.
Right,
I mean,
but how would the limited being even know about the unlimited in the first place? How would the limited being even?
I think we can obtain. I think we could just obtain certain things just through our intuition. We don't have to gain knowledge.
No, but we're about facts and logic. It can't be intuition. We're about facts and logic. Why would the limited omnipotent being even carve out man and give man knowledge and information about that unlimited being when no other animals have that information and that perspective? Why would the limited being, why would it even do that? We can't even figure anything out about where we came from, where that being come from. How would you know we didn't just make it up as we go along because we didn't know? History is made up. A lot of stuff in history is just made up without knowing. A lot of stuff in history is made up.
Well, we know history is a propaganda of the victor, right? We all know that. But what I'm saying is, the fact that we just don't know, right? It doesn't mean that God doesn't exist because we don't know. It just means that we just don't know.
Right.
And if there is an unlimited being, right? Maybe he just doesn't want us to know, and that's why we don't know certain things. It's because it's impossible for us to know. Because we're human beings, we can't even explain our own human nature, much less to explain something that is unlimited.
Yeah. There's a lot we can't explain, and there's a lot we learn. Yeah. We learn something new every single day, and we're only as good as our experiences.
Yeah. Well, we want to be better than our experience, right? Because but I think believing in a deity, right, would be better than believing that human beings just evolve from nothing.
Why would it
like
be
you were
better?
saying
Why
before,
would it
right?
be better?
What
Why would it be better?
Hmm?
Why would it be better?
I think it's a better. I think it's a better option if you look at what Charles Darwin explained, right? The theory of evolution is a racist theory when you really think about it, right? The man came from nothing. According to Charles Darwin, right? He said like the mongoloid, right, which is black people, right, evolve into the negroid evolve into the mongoloid. The negroid is black people evolve into the mongoloid, which is basically Chinese, for example, and then the mongoloid evolve into the caucasoid, which is white people. So according to him, white people is the ultimate when it comes to evolution.
Man, just right? we make up stuff based on what fits also, our race and what we do. We make stuff up. We make stuff up. We don't know.
But according to him also, it's like, but according to him also, like, black people is closest to the ape.
Because that's what white people does. That's why everything is black. That's bad.
Yeah.
You go to a funeral, you wear black. Everything is black. That's bad.
That's a theory, though.
Yeah.
But if you compare that theory to the fact that all human beings are related, right?
Yeah.
Because we all have the same common ancestry. That's better than to say we evolved from nothing. So the better option that we have is to believe in a deity than to believe in evolution.
No. Here's the mistake you're making. We're taking evolution from the perspective of some racist person. Reconfigured the evolution being taken from somebody who's agnostic, who is objective, and who believe that we evolve not with the same way that we've been told by these white racist people who tell us how we evolve as mankind or as people. So here's the question for you. Isn't the Bible sexist?
Well, I understand, like, well, put it this way. I do read the Bible, like the law scholars, and I do study the Bible. There's not everything in the Bible that I truly understand, because some of it is according to certain tradition and times have changed.
But how can the Bible be about tradition?
Truth, absolute truth.
Wait.
Absolute truth haven't changed. Absolute truth haven't changed, because it's always wrong to kill somebody, right? It's always wrong to commit adultery and stuff like that, right? But there's some part of the Bible that is just pure history, and some part that deal with tradition, the tradition in that time. But tradition have changed, but absolute truth haven't changed. Absolute truth is the same.
Okay. Somebody just want to call in to Carla, but Dave, I understand what you're saying, Dave. But I will say this before you go, which is this. If we read all these books and all these guides that we take and ponder and pontificate and understand, we'll see that they all are full of contradictions. A lot of them.
We as human beings are full of contradiction too, right? But it doesn't mean that there is no God because we're full of contradictions.
No, I'm not saying there's no God. But we shouldn't be people who think that there's no God, and we shouldn't be people who think that there's a God. What we need to do is challenge and query people's arguments and perspective as to how they arrive where they arrive.
Exactly, and this is what we're doing right now. So big up, man. Have a good night, eh?
I appreciate your call. Thanks.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, Gunners. Colleen Gunners. Okay, see what Colleen. By the way, people, let me say this. I'm asking you guys a question again. And Owen, you can call Owen. You can call it next. Go. CC calling afterward. Who this? Gunners?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Gunners. What you have to say?
Yeah, so this whole concept that you have, this are going to take hours and hours and hours. So I really want to go down a certain path, right?
Right.
What me want to do is go out on the show and tell you what my belief is.
Right.
So, first of all, I grew up in Pentecostal church. And if I had continued in that Pentecostal church and in that faith up until the age that I am at now, but I think nobody could have ever come to me and tell me, say, what me believe in is wrong. Right?
Okay.
No, a man could have said no backslide, but I'm not backslide because I never baptized in the first place. But I stopped the church, run at the age of 15, right? However, from me a baby up until then, I was deep in the church. And I always continue with a certain level of faith until a couple years ago, I start delve back into faith. Now, the first thing is, I don't believe in denominations. I don't believe in religion. I don't believe in Christianity, right? And the thing is, what I believe in is holiness. And the point about the Bible being contradicting earlier, I think is wrong, because it just depends on, it can seem contradicting right off the bat, but that is because you don't have the, I'm going to want to say understanding, because if you say understanding, then you have to think about logic. But the Bible talk about the Lord revealing things to you. And in order to get that revelation, you have to go into it with an open heart. And you have to want God to get that revelation, right? In most cases. See, so may I try to stay far away? Well, not far away, but may I try to stay away from the logic thing right now, right? So going back to my point now, what I believe in is in holiness. Now, the Bible talks about holiness, and the Bible tells us, be ye holy, for I am holy, right? That's all the Lord asked us to do, be holy, because he is holy. He wants us to be like him. Obviously, we can't be God, right? But he wants us to aim and strive every single day to be like him. Now, one might ask, how can I be holy? And that is where the Bible comes in. The Bible, no man said the Bible is written by man. I don't believe that. Yes, the Bible is written by men, prophets and apostles. However, God was speaking through them. God told them what to write, basically. He might never whisper in them ears like, oh, you know, and say, hey, man, say this or say that. However, every single thing that is written in that Bible, basically God write it. And God does not contradict, right? That is what I believe in. Now, as I say, I grew up in the Pentecostal church, and I don't believe in that anymore. The reason why is because, let me use the Bible, right? Now, there's a scripture in 1 Corinthians 14:33 that says, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints. There's also another scripture in Corinthians that says, now I beseech you, brethren, I'm going to list this, right? By the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Now, when you hear that and you think about that, the first thing I think about in Christianity is denominations, right? Denominations are subdivisions of the broad religion Christianity. You follow, Cranky?
I'm listening.
Right? So a Pentecostal church, a Jehovah Witness, a Seventh-day Adventist, all of those are confusions. A lot of them steer people away from God. Because I want to say, brother, oh, me I go going at this, oh, me I go going at that, which one right, which one this, which one that. That is all the work of the devil, which is the father of the earth. That is my belief. So I believe in holiness. Be ye holy, because the Lord thy God is holy. That's all God wants us to do.
Right.
No,
So question for you. So you're saying if Gunners just do right by people and be a good person, he'll go to this quote unquote heaven?
No.
No?
No.
So I've got another question for you. Wait, I've got another question for you. Suppose I'm using Gunner and Cranky as example. So Cranky is a killer, right? Kill people, the fun, the contract killer, right?
Yeah.
And Gunners live good all in life, but in a reach not God. Cranky get caught and or get executed. Cranky repents himself, give himself to God for a year. But Gunners has never gone to church. He just do white people. He support people. He's philanthropic. Does the right thing. Never curse. Never doing wrong. So you tell me that Cranky going to heaven and Gunners going to hell?
All right. So first, let me talk about which one you say was the one who killed people?
Cranky. Cranky, I want killer.
Cranky. Okay.
Yeah, and Gunners a good person. Gunners a good person.
Understand now. So let me respond. So Cranky is a killer. Him decides him want to repent, be baptized, give him life to God. And in 1 year, him dead. There's no guarantee that after he is baptized, according to the Bible, he would have had the Holy Ghost speaking in tongues, which is another requirement to make it into the kingdom. So that is not because you repent and be baptized means you have heaven. You still have to live a holy life right throughout, following, and that's going over into Gunners now. So Gunners is a good youth, right? And good is, what's the word? Good according to the Bible is the same as good according to man. Because not troubling people and minding your own business and not cause problem is good according to man. But that is not good according to God. Because you can be good and you not serve God. Right? You cannot trouble nobody and you not serve God. So again, there are a set of requirements put down for you to get eternal life. So you can be good according to man and you not get eternal life. You can be bad, a bad man will kill all heap of people, which that will be harder for your soul get in, because not saying a bad man can't be saved or a bad man can't repent, but if you had that heart to kill so much people, cranky, I not say God can't do it, but it is very rare that you have to find people who consistently do that. Eventually,
so Ghana, isn't that God flawed? And isn't that God flawed? Isn't that a flawed God who would allow somebody to kill other people and then make them go to heaven while I serve and support people all my life and I go to hell? Isn't that a flawed God?
But I think so.
Really?
At the end of the day, hold on, let me answer. So, because at the end of the day, the Bible talks about God being a fear God. The Bible talks about every person that lives on this earth, right, will know God before them time comes. Now, if you have faith, the Bible also talks about you saving yourself, basically, right? Which seems selfish, but at the end of the day, it's not. So if you have faith in God, you know what it takes for you to get into the kingdom, right? And the Bible says, save yourself. You will believe that the word of God that tells you that every man will know and see God. Not see God, but every man will know of God, right? Before him dead. You have to believe that.
Right. It does. So there's a difference between. So which God is right? Is it the Muslim God? Is it the Indian God? Is it the Christianity God? Which God is the right God?
All right. So again, as I say, I'm going to believe in a Christianity. I believe in God and I believe in the Bible. Right? Remember, the same Bible from Judaism piece right there, you know, the Holy Bible, right? Or the Holy Scriptures, which is what I mean.
Right.
Right. But I don't. So the Hinduism, the Islam, I don't believe in them. But if we section down into Christianity, I don't believe in a Christianity. I don't believe in denominations because those are divisions that cause confusion. They don't speak the same thing. It causes division among God's people, and they are not perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment, which is what 1 Corinthians 1 and 10 tells us as saints.
So can Christians go to heaven? Can Christians go to heaven? Based on what you're saying, that means Christians can't go to heaven then, right?
Christians. All right, so now we're talking. Christians are real, but Christianity is fake. And let me explain. Listen, right? Now, in the Bible, it says that they were first called Christians in Antioch. No, the Bible is way older than the religion Christianity. Christianity was created by man, right? The Bible itself, where it says they were first called Christians in Antioch, because Christians are basically followers of Christ. People that after the passing of Jesus Christ, they followed his teachings. So that is who a Christian is. A Christian is not someone who is in the religion Christianity. That is what we are all fooled to believe. So if you're there under the religion Christianity, you go to church every Sunday or you go to church every Saturday, you're under a denomination, then you are a Christian. And I'll say, go. A Christian, according to the Bible, which is what I believe in, was first called a Christian in Antioch. So what does it take to be a Christian? You have to follow Christ. How do you follow Christ? By being holy. How do you be holy? By following the teachings of Christ, which he had written through men, his apostles and his prophets. They get me?
And were these people Jews?
All right, so not all of them were Jews. Majority of them were Jews, right? No, I don't think Paul was a Jew.
Right. So, but why would an omnipotent being like God select one race of people to do all this through? Why not the Africans? Why not the people who have been persecuted? Why not the Africans?
Right,
why not the Indians in this part of the world? or the Arawaks? Why and the Incas or the Aztec? Why not them?
Remember, the Israelites were persecuted.
So we're told.
No, come on. That is,
So we're told. So we're told.
All right. So this way I get in.
But just saying. So we're told.
All right. So we're told.
Yes.
We could just work with what we are being told, right? The Israelites, were persecuted.
Okay.
The reason why Jesus came into the flesh, right, was to teach the new generation of people. And that is what we call the New Testament church, right? Now, this is another thing as well where people say the Bible contradicts. Because the Bible has said one thing in the Old Testament and then say the next one in the New Testament. Samson did have long hair, but yet still, in Corinthians, Paul tell we say, any man that has long hair, it's a shame upon him. And any woman that cut them hair, it's a shame upon her.
Doesn't that sound like a man concept here? Doesn't that sound like a man concept here versus a deity concept? No man talk about physical appearance and anything. Does that sound like a god or a being versus a man who want long hair and care about them thing there?
At the end of the day, if you have somebody, think of it like this. And again, we are talking about an omnipotent being, somebody that we cannot even fathom having understanding of. Can't even understand the code. Now, if someone is in charge of you and creates you for a purpose, who are you to tell them how they want to do it?
But why would you? So you're coming to tell me about this being that you know of. I don't believe in your being. I'm a Black African. I live in Kenya all these years. You're in Israel. You come up with this cockamamie story about a prophet and about 12 apostles. And you tell me you spoke to some God. And I speak to my God every day because I'm from Nigeria. I'm Muslim. I speak to my God every day. You speak to your God. Why makes your God so preferential? What makes your God so holy and my God not holy?
So the thing is, again, as I say, I'm not baptized. I don't go to church every day, but I do have a deep understanding from studying over the past 2 years and from going to church majority of my life to experience certain things. It's when it comes to crossover religion, believe that to apostles or pastors like who me follow Gina Jennings. Right?
Yeah.
Because I don't have that capability right now. When it comes to crossovers of religions, honestly, Cranky, I cannot touch upon that because with the last thing that I want to do when talking about this is to sound like an idiot and it's to mislead people or steer people further away from God. You see, if something did it where me can't touch upon, I am not going to do it, Cranky.
Okay.
So if you want to stick on the whole point of Christianity, God and them thing that we can do that, but I cannot and I will not because I'm gonna have them level of understanding there yet. Me know the reach level of faith where me want to reach it in my life in order to do that. I don't want to mash up the viewers them perspective. You see me? I try to give them something that makes sense. You see me?
Right. So let me just say this, Gunnar, before you go. For most people got to think about it this way. Why would anybody who is logical, maybe I shouldn't use logic, why would anybody in their right mind want to question the existence of a being if they know we're going to go to some hell and burn with fire and brimstone? What? For everlasting? Wait, no? They don't tell you you get burned, You're burned, like you'll live, you're just, God will make sure, say, when you burn, you never stop burn, right? So they make you sure you feel that pain. It's like those people the scam artists who create a sense of urgency and that need for you to send your money now. Okay, if you don't, you're gonna lose your XYZ. That's the thing that the Bible does, which is you have to do XYZ, otherwise you go to hell and you burn forever. And you can actually feel the fire on your skin. Okay, fire burn. So they create a sense of fear where you feel like you have to do this. So why would anybody challenge that? Why would anybody challenge that if they weren't given the ability to do so?
All right, Cranky, you never afraid that when your great grandmother back in the days?
Of course. And
you get the lick feet, but when you learn from the lick, you get to that.
I think it was child abuse now. No, seriously, I'm telling you. I think it was child abuse. I don't think I learned anything from it. So I'll be honest. When I grew up, I didn't get beaten. I probably got beaten once by my mom, and she didn't get to beat me again. Come and say, you know what? We're not playing that. Meaning, if you try to beat me, I'm not coming to the house. So you have a choice. I can sleep outside. You can beat me. I didn't grow up with my mom anyway. But when I was around her, I didn't get beaten. I got hit once growing up. I don't get beaten.
My father told me, yo, I sleep at school one time. So my father tell me, say, yo, when you come home, you don't cuss bad word on your stream. But him tell me what I'm going to do tomorrow when I come home. And me left from Arden High School, come straight to Spain from bus. Because I used to play ball after training. And I turn back and say, yo, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm not take no more beat. Now I turn back, left from Spain for take taxi go me yard and go back to Arden. Because I don't know where did I go. Go back to Arden and jump Arden fence. Every security getting a problem, lose them up because of that. And sleep in our upstairs 6-farm building. And the caretaker can lock up the place 4 o'clock in the morning, which is something else really wrong. And him open it up back around 6 a.m. And when he open it up 6 a.m. and me I walk out and the people them see me and the people them I walk in, them I say, yo, I walk on. You see me? So that was just like a story still.
Yeah, because you know it's child abuse. You know, take no more beating. Child abuse.
Yeah, for real. But at the end of the day, me honestly learn from that still. I'm not saying right. But I learn from that, I'm going to envy my father. See? Obviously, it has negative side effects and not everybody can manage.
Right.
So I don't think it is right. But in my case, it gave me the toughness then. And I think it was for the betterment of me. Right? I can't talk to the next man.
Yeah. No. Look, some people, we use different treatment, just like our coaches engage players differently, right? People respond to different things in life. So I'm not going to beat anyone or denigrate them because of their situation. All I say about that is this. I think you can have other punishment without hitting somebody to get your point across or to have them behave a certain way.
Some people just idea still, but getting back to the point, right? Yeah, man. So that is what me believe, you know. I don't think if you want to find the truth, you forgot to or think about them fake pastor the way they did that. So obviously, them people are fake cranky. The people them where I go to and tell people them need to give them certain amount of money, and tell people so them can do this for them. Hotline for prayer if you spend money. The whole of them think they are bullshit cranky. Right?
I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah, the whole of those people are fake apostles. And the Bible tells us that in the latter times, you will have more of those people than the true apostles. Now, you tell me, Jamaica have the most churches per square capita. That is not what the Bible instructed. God select 12 disciples to go out and preach to all nations. That alone, that concept alone of the amount of churches on my road, main road, because I live in the ghetto area no more. Scheme I live in now, but on the main road, I live in Old Harbour Road. And for every bar is a church. Every other bar is a church. Every other bar is a church in Jamaica. Right? That is not true. And the reason why, because I have so many denominations, which take me back to my original point. Right? There should be more divisions among you and them things. So again, if you want real answers, more than suggest you go listen to First Church of Our Lord Jesus Christ on YouTube, Gina Jennings.
I would love to debate the pastor. I don't want answers. I would love to debate those pastors. I love to debate anybody who is in those seats about just these discussions, these topics. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That man will answer any question under the sun for you, my friend.
Okay.
Anything. Across religions, across inner Christianity, about God, anything at all that man can answer for you. Philadelphia church, about him travel a lot.
Right.
And we can catch him. Every Sunday we there in church. And unless them reports them about travel, go on next country or travel, go on next state. Right? Okay. You can catch him on YouTube, First Church of Our Lord Jesus Christ, or you just type in Gina Jennings. That is somebody who you want to listen to.
All right.
There are some people, you just if you listen to them, you now will get answers, and you just have to go in a debate where it make no sense, and we're now going to do be for the betterment of you. You see me?
Yeah,
so
man.
Big up yourselves.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Gunners.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm glad. CC, you can't call him now. CC, come in. You want to call him before. Where's CC there? I'm going to call back CC people. CC may be my last caller for the evening. Interesting discussion. Didn't realize that Gunners was so much into what do you say? Holiness. CC, you called earlier?
Yes.
What do you want to say?
You hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yes.
Yeah. No, man, I say, Frankie.
Yes.
I think you delved into the, whatever they call it now, one of the more troublesome topics, you know.
I believe we should talk about any and everything. We should not be afraid to talk about
basically
anything.
what everything.
Yeah, why
this
not?
case,
Why not? Why not? Why not?
in this case, no, I'm not saying they should not question it, no, but in this case, nobody has the answer because not the scientist, not the religious person, not nobody. Because the number one thing that I think a lot of us not have not conceived is consciousness. Where does consciousness come from?
No, I talked about that earlier, right? Which is that AI doesn't have consciousness, but man does, right? But it's even deeper than that because consciousness is aspect of the human being, and the idea is where does what does nothing? What is meant by nothing? What does nothing? What does it mean when you say nothing? What does that mean? And where does anything originate from? What was the beginning? And can there be a beginning? Can there truly be a beginning? Because where's the beginning going to come from? And can there truly just be existence? Because you have to begin someplace. That's where the contradiction comes in and the confusion comes in.
But look at it like this, right? Man is always trying to solve things and explain why everything is. I think the Jehovah's Witness people thinks the blood is the soul. I don't know if you ever heard that.
No, I haven't.
That's the reason why they don't donate blood. Because did you know, like you have seen people get heart transplant, all of these things, right? But have they become the other person?
No, they haven't.
They take John Ark and put it in a Mary. Mary not become John. But there has been instances where persons have lost blood and gotten blood, never used to smoke and start smoke.
They got blood, and what? The blood then encouraged them to smoke? What does that mean?
All right, so what I'm saying is that the blood, remember the blood, all right, if you drain somebody, for example, people can die brain dead. People can their heart can stop function and other organs are working. Nothing survives when your blood is drained out of your system.
Right. Well, the blood carries oxygen, right? And feed your entire body. But go ahead.
All right. So the blood carries oxygen, right? And then that same oxygen, in terms of isn't it through the blood that the information travels to go certain areas in your body.
Well, I wouldn't call it information, but yeah, it carries whatever it needs to carry so you can keep on living. Yes.
Exactly. So then the essential point is that the blood is in fact the soul. And me giving you blood is like me sharing a part of my soul with you. Okay. So that's why they don't.
So why don't I take on your personality then?
Why do you? That's what I'm just saying.
You just said that I smoke when I wasn't smoking, but is that really the case?
That's why I say if somebody hasn't smoked for 40 years of their life and they got this large blood transfusion and started smoking, then you detect that the blood that they got, the person who donated that blood is a smoker.
Okay. I've never heard that before, but I learned something new every day. I don't believe in it either, but just me.
But that's the thing, Cranky, to believe. The other day, somebody was questioning and saying to believe is to doubt, which in a sense you can understand it because to believe means you don't know, and if you don't know, there's a doubt.
Well, you can't. No, well, I'm not sure I agree with that because there's some people believe and they have no doubt.
If you believe, the word believe.
I know what the word believe, but I'm saying some people believe and they have no doubt. They have convinced themselves that it's no longer belief, is a fact. It's no longer conceptual, it's a fact.
All right, look at it like this, Cranky. A lot of persons believe they're black, believe they're white, believe that they're Chinese, right? But what if we could adjust, because we can't transfer consciousness right now, but does the art of a black man work in a white person's body?
I'm sure it's a human art, isn't it? It works anyway.
That is what I'm talking about. So if you had 4 buckets, 1 blue, 1 purple, 1 green, 1 yellow, and you pour water in them, what color would be the water?
I have no idea. What color would be the water?
The water will take the reflection of the bucket that it is in. It doesn't mean that the water is white or the water is yellow or blue or purple.
But you say you color the water, right?
Now I'm saying you don't color the water. You put the water in a bucket and you close it. And you're looking at the different colors of the bucket.
Okay.
So you don't see the water is colorless.
Yes. I thought you said color the water.
Yeah, so the state of the water is colorless now, but you're looking at the color of the bucket.
Right.
So think of it like a human vessel. So consciousness is in all of us. Consciousness is color. There's no color to consciousness. There's no color to consciousness. So we take on the color that is suitable to the environment that we live in. For example, you grew up in a tropical. If you grew up in a tropical environment, more likely people who in a tropical environment are going to be darker skin, have more melanin in their skin to protect them from the harsher sunlight. Persons who grew up in the colder side of things, colder side of places, look on the Russian them. Russia is probably one of the most coldest. I don't want to use the word most and coldest. One of the coldest places in the world. They have a certain skin tone. You don't necessarily find a predominance of what do they call them, Caucasian in desert type areas or tropical areas, unless they migrated there.
But don't their body eventually adapt to that environment?
That's why I'm saying to you that like eventually over a period of time, your body will adapt, and then your tone becomes less and less less and less white. So even if you start getting kids and you're living in this you're living in a desert type of area, then over a period of time, it might take centuries, it might take decades or centuries. But at some point in time, if you were a white person, your great grand down the line won't be white, won't be Caucasian.
But I won't say they won't be Caucasian. They may be darker than they were originally, but they're still going to be Caucasian. It's going to be darker. Yeah.
But my thing about everything is this, right? Because I've always questioned it, because I was like, is the earth really circle in shape as these guys have said it? Have they really gone to the moon? Because how is it that they went to the moon in when did they go to the moon? 1968, right? And right now we have more. The technology now is better than then. And we can't go to the moon again.
So you're saying they created a fake
No, but Cranky, look at it. How did we go to the moon in 1968 and we cannot set up a colony on the moon? Because that's what they were been talking about, How is it that we've been to the moon 1968 and we have never been back?
Maybe it's not built for human beings to live on it.
And not even to live on it, but has never been any other trips to the moon?
I don't know. That's a good question. I thought there were 2 trips to the moon. Didn't one go where they died and then the next one they...
I'll lie them and tell Cranky. I'll lie. They have no proof of going to the moon. And only way they can tell me so they go to the moon, they have to go right now. Go again. You can do this one time, much years ago, when time no technology was there and you just can't fake to people, because remember technology, like for example, they have the technological boom that's coming around, right? I don't even think certain type of, right now they talk about quantum physics. And you're telling me that you have quantum physics now and you still cannot reach to the moon. So it's just like what you're saying, if people use biblical thing and religious thing and all of these other concepts to challenge person's mind and say control people then.
All right.
But they're using the same concept when you're saying that the went to the moon.
But don't they but having different countries send different space, what I wouldn't even call them spacecraft, but other things they send up to the moon, they land them on different parts of the moon. China has done it, Russia has done it, the US has done it. They may not send astronauts up there, but they send other things up there.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's easy. You can explain sending an unmanned aircraft
right
out in space. What do you explain sending?
But maybe they want to send a man because of the harsh construct there, or the harsh environment.
But you did it 1968. So why you can't do it now?
I actually don't know the answer for that.
And the next thing about it, Cranky, outside of the Earth's atmosphere, there's a lot of gaseous elements
Yes.
outside of the Earth's atmosphere. You know?
Yeah,
So-
and it may not be conducive for man to live in any of those environments.
So, Cranky, to be honest, as I said, we are living in what do you call it? It's probably an endless cycle of, because nothing and everything and all these things are constructs of men, words that we have given meaning to. But the explanation of life itself, because they came in with something recently called biocentrism, trying to explain life as a combination of biology and physics, where they're saying life gave birth to the universe and not the universe giving birth to life itself. Where does a life come from to be part of that universe? So life exists without the universe. Does that make any sense to anybody? Isn't the whole chicken and egg thing again that we keep going around in circle on? Can life exist without the universe? Okay.
Where would the life reside if not in the universe?
But where does all right then, Cranky, in terms of dream? Let me tell you one thing.
And here's the question: isn't the universe life?
That's
How does one define life? It said the universe is not life.
But
The planet breathes, and so why wouldn't that be deemed life? That's somewhat confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, Mother Earth. But my thing is this, right? When I was growing up, I have this right now in my current job or where I'm at in life. You know that a lot of these things, it's almost like I thought I expected to be here. I don't know. It's so in a way, but I mean, like for me, when I was growing up, I remember one time, I'll show you, Cranky. I remember one time I was dreaming, right? And in that dream, I had a dream that I was driving past, I think, one JTC bus or something like that, at a certain area.
Did you know you were dreaming at the time you were dreaming?
Yeah, when I was in the dream,
Yeah.
if I knew I was dreaming,
Yeah.
I knew I was dreaming.
How would you know you were dreaming if you're dreaming?
That Cranky, that during lies the mystery.
You don't know you were dreaming. When you woke up, you realized you were dreaming.
No, I'm not saying when I woke up.
But you don't know when you were dreaming. You don't know you're. I would refuse to believe you know you're dreaming when you're dreaming. It's when you wake up you realize you're dreaming.
Cranky,
or maybe you were dreaming within the dream.
Okay, all right.
No. We're not moving until you admit that you don't know you were dreaming when you were dreaming.
If I don't know that I was dreaming,
you didn't know you were dreaming when you were dreaming.
All right. So let me put it. There seems to have been a dream within the dream.
Okay.
Because
good. That's much better. That's much better.
I recall 2 dreams, and one was a dream within the dream. But then what I'm trying to say to you is this: I drove past an area, and something snapped back to me like, didn't I dream about this like 10, 15 years ago?
We all have that actually. We all have something in our past, in our current, which we at some point think I've been here, done this before.
So that is what I'm saying to you. So it's almost as if, what if me on this earth was on this earth 100 years ago before? What if it's like a cycle where I was here before and these things took place before?
Yeah, but it'd be a different environment, but it's possible. Right? You had no cars, you had no buses way back when.
No, but I'm saying
you probably had a slave master.
but look at it like this, Frankie. There are things that people are talking about that years ago that they saw certain construct in terms of the airplane construct and certain things that we can't explain. The pyramid. Can anyone explain the pyramid? Has anyone explained the pyramid?
People have explained, but the question: does the explanation holds water?
The explanation doesn't hold any water. So what we have is people come down and build the pyramid. Is there any existence out there outside of our existence right here?
I don't know. I don't know about So the pyramids are a marvel, but people believe they're built by pharaohs and his people.
That's why I'm saying to you, Cranky, if we went to the moon, we would have gone to another planet by now. Why is it that we can't find ourselves in another planet by now?
No, look, I think what we're confused about is this. What we deem to be a long time is not a long time in the concept of the universe. So we believe 100 years is a long time. It's a drop in the bucket in the concept of the universe. If we believe of the age of the universe, and if that age is infinite, then we have no idea what time we are in. We created our own timeline about before Christ and after Christ. We have no idea how long the earth has been around. We have no idea how long the universe has been around. We don't know if the universe is always existed, which means there's no time to think about the universe. There's no time associated with the universe.
But then, Cranky, that's a scary. Let me put it like this: it's scary to think that you don't know where if the universe existed before or what. You don't really know anything then. Like we can.
Well, we're proving that tonight. We don't know much. We think we know a lot, but we don't.
So I'm gonna say you can explain how things work, like through science, but you can't explain the big picture.
Well, you can explain certain things which you have been allowed to be able to explain, because that's how I'm going to think about it. But there's some things which are beyond your comprehension, because human beings have been provided with the resources to enable them to learn about these things.
But
for example, the inception of life. Yeah.
But the reason why I would say, Frankie, that I believe there's another being supreme to the human race is that if you could have monkeys and you could have the animals, and then you'd have Homo sapiens, which is ourselves, right?
Right.
And we are more intelligent than the animals. Why is it that we don't think there's somebody else more intelligent than us?
Yeah, well, that's the $1 million question, right? And we don't know. We just don't know. And if they were around, it's so far away from Earth, by the time we got to them, we'd have died. So there's also a contradiction in that, which is look, if you go back to the way before the 90s, for example, we had finite into the universe and finite number of planets and finite number of stars. And then we subsequently realized, as we got more sophisticated and we have more instruments to tell us about the universe, that we have no idea what we're talking about. There's some fundamentals like gravity, yes, they make sense. About the number of stars that we have and planets, we have no idea. The size of the universe, we have no idea. We can keep talking. We can say we're informed. We can talk about all these great people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and their knowledge. They only know but so much.
That's what I'm telling you, that Cranky. Even if we want to say we don't believe in certain things, one thing of this I'm sure, I believe that there is a more supreme intelligent entity that exists that we are not aware of.
Or it could be entities. Why do we believe it's just going to be one God? It could be multiple gods, right? It could be multiple people.
I'm not saying God. I'm not saying God.
Our deity.
I'm saying
yes.
entities.
Yes.
Like, even if they're not God, but the supreme entities that are more intelligent than us.
Yeah.
Because
yeah. Here's the thing too. The fear of going to the so-called hell, it's so pervasive and so prevalent that some people don't even challenge or question anything. They don't even contemplate it, because then they're going to be vulnerable to the fact that, you know what, they may not go to heaven, which is this everlasting life, and they're going to have young girls and virgins and milk and honey in this heaven that they want to go
to. Granted, you see? But that's the thing, though. I think there are dimensions. Dimensions exist within the sphere we call. Like, when I look within this construct that we call life, there are dimensions that exist. And we just don't know, because we are what they say we are. We are 4-dimensional beings, or 5th-dimensional beings.
Well, let's say we only use 3% of our brain. The next 97% is probably all water. But anyway, keep going. Can't be used. It's a like
but my thing about it is, Cranky, is that for some, as I said before, if we look at our circle on the earth, where we have the animals and then we have ourselves, there's logics to say, or even if I say it's logical, I believe that there are supreme entities out there that are much more something much more much more intelligent than ourselves, because you have things on the earth that is, and what do call it, inexplainable. It's not. It's almost like people cannot explain it, or the explanation that they have given cannot go hold in the water, cranky. Because
CC, man cannot accept that Earth is their heaven. Man created this fictitious planet for it to be a heaven, where everything is wonderful and perfect. Man can't digest the concept that this may be their heaven, and they ain't going to no other planet, no other place to go hang out with no angels, not no white horse, or no white whatever they have on. They can't accept that. This is your heaven. Get over it. It's not perfect. Right. It's far from perfect. Yeah. Anyway, CC, we'll close on CC. 2 more minutes. We'll close down.
Yeah. May I say, all right, watch it. Cranky, the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what is the explanation for that?
I don't know. They're trying to figure it out.
The Nazca lines. What is the explanation for that?
You tell me.
Remember, so there's a series of giant what do you call them, geoliths that are in Peru. We don't know the purpose. We don't know the Stone Age.
Look. If they're about Bermuda Triangle, right, which is where that place between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, where a lot of ships get lost and all sort of stuff happens, isn't that like made up stuff? Planes disappear, XYZ, and they give it some kind of this onerous construct.
There's this another construct named the Nazca lines. You know the Nazca lines, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what it is. Stonehenge. What is Stonehenge?
So you're bringing up a lot of stuff which you can't explain that man just come up with.
No, I'm saying.
Huh? We create these things. There may be things that actually exist, or places that exist now, right? There may be like Bermuda Triangle. It's a region that have a lot of sinister thing around it and stuff that happens. But what does that mean? The other parts of the world that have the same thing, even worse. We had a plane disappear over Asia. Could nobody ain't find it yet? Who knows what that stuff where that plane disappeared? They haven't still didn't find that plane yet. And that plane years ago that disappeared with almost 100 people on board, just disappeared the face of the earth. Some country shut it down and cover it up. And they say
the alien lights. My thing about it is this, right? You see, until somebody has gone and come back and like, somebody has to, if nobody, and this is the problem with life. We can't know anything unless we see or observe it. Anything that we have not seen or not observed, we don't know. That's
yeah.
The problem. It's not like I can go and sleep right now and say, all right, my dreaming is as a result of things that is yet to happen. But I've dreamt of doing impossible things.
Yeah, because you have a very vivid imagination.
So right now, the only thing I can say is this, currently. At some point in time, if we want to find out the big picture, we have to think about the big picture. And by thinking about the big picture, maybe subconsciously, we might be aware of it. And then if we can recover it when we become conscious, then that's the only time we can explain it. Mm-hmm. Because I think the key to finding the answer of the universe for me is in your subconsciousness. When you're in a state of rest, when you're not,
we will never know where we come from, and it's hard to digest, frankly.
Well,
the concept of not knowing the origination of life is hard to digest. It's hard to digest. It's beyond frustrating.
We're gonna continue.
Yeah, man. What did that?
Search for it.
Yeah,
but I said more likely we can tell it, Frankie. So like how we talk about it now.
Yeah.
I am going to probably sleep and think about something that giving me some weird explanation.
You will not find the answer. Like, trust me. Yours truly have thought about this regularly, and you pinch yourself as to how can I imagine the inception or the start of something when it's not coming from something else? How can a world come and exist when it didn't exist before? does that make any sense to anybody? Even the concept of God, does that make sense to anybody? If it doesn't make sense, then I struggle because I'm a very logical person.
Yeah, see it as be tiny like a mustard seed.
Yeah,
But there were cranky. In a life,
yeah.
Which do you rather? Something that to hold on and believe in, or something that to not believe in?
No, what I want is not to accept something which I truly don't believe in. But I'm just doing it because it makes other people feel good and it makes me feel better because I'm concerned. I'm overcome by fear and I'm overcome by this need to agree with the majority. Sometimes you can have paralysis of the majority,
or you know that if you know this country, all the religions and all the scientific research and everything comes back to one thing,
which is
comes back to life and supreme entities. So it's not like
no, but you know what? Because we can't explain. Look, we believe that if you have all this huge universe and it can't come from nothing, then and it's all seem to be coordinated and they all seem to be linkage and it all seems to work, well rehearsed and well constructed, then someone has to orchestrate it. Otherwise, it can't just happen by happen chance. All these things work, right? Man is on earth. Man has provided food. He's provided shelter. And because we have things that satisfy our needs, we think somebody has to have created it. When we went out, go ahead.
Yeah, but Cranky, look at it like this. What I'm saying to you, Judaism, Christianity, Scientology, all of these things, right? It's like all of them is going around in circles. They're fighting each other because they're going back to one central point, and that's consciousness. Because, as I said, consciousness has no what they call it. Consciousness has no physical state of being.
Yeah, but I mean, we go back to the whole.
That's why we should practice acceptance. As you said, if somebody believes that nothing is there, then accept it. If somebody believes that something is there, accept it.
Well, you mean, but you have to accept. You respect their belief. You don't have to accept it because you don't want to accept it. Right? You respect them because you want to challenge something that you have no answer for yourself.
Exactly.
Or you can challenge it with the view of you trying to learn how well they got to where they got to. Right? You want to find out what's your rationale for where you get to.
Overall, nobody has the answer. That means nobody is supposed to reject anybody else's belief.
That is true.
Because we're all trying to know.
Yeah. All right, CC. We'll shut it down now, CC. CC, appreciate the call, sir. Have a good night.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, everyone. I overran my 2 hours. 2 hours and 17 minutes. So anyway, people, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here. It's a different discussion tonight. It's not the traditional reggae boys discussion. I'm going to have more. Well, I'm going to take a sabbatical from YouTube for a while, actually. I have to recalibrate. So this is my last show for a while. But I appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here. These discussions are good. I don't know when we're going to have them in the future, but we'll have them more in the future because it can't just be about sports. Because we're living with things around us, amongst us, that we want information about, that we want to talk about, that we want to consider. And we can only do that in group settings like these where we have these conversations and to learn others' perspective and to provide our own perspective. Owen said, agnostic cranky. Bless up Owen. Hey, Owen, I respect anybody who's a Christian, who's a Muslim, who has any faith. At least they have something to hold on to. The other people, I won't say who struggle with these things. And so you may be, if you have a faith that you hold on to, you're in a better situation than many people who are just querying these things, can't come to a definitive outcome or solution, just really frustrated. And some people they have their belief works for them, and they're happy, and you have to respect that. All right? Prayer circle for the reggae boys. Reggae girls need more prayer right now than reggae boys, because reggae girls are challenged after getting smashed by Mexico, which suggests to you people how Mexico's improved over the last 4 years. But anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Have a good night, everyone, and thank you for being here. Peace out. Cranky life is the best to be now. For the best sports talk, and it's free, yo. Cranky life will be your guiding light by keeping you informed both day and night. Cranky life. Tell them, cranky life. Heed them, cranky life. Want them, cranky life. From the course to the field, we'll never lose because Cranky has the hottest news. With expert analysis, we break it down. Our in-depth coverage is best in town. Cranky life. Tell them, cranky life. Heed them, cranky life. Want them, cranky life. Cranky life where the sports is spicy and where we keep the discussion lively. Cranky life. Get to know the name because cranky analysis is never lame. Cranky life. Give me my cranky life. I want my cranky life. Must have my cranky life. Whether it's football or track and field, you know cranky is at the wheel. So join the journey through victory and defeat and subscribe and don't miss a beat of cranky life. Tell them, cranky life. Heed them, cranky life. Want them, cranky life. If you're from England or USA, from Kingston or Bombay, from Kenya or Canada, Lagos or Havana, visit Cranky Life. Tune into Cranky Life. Like up Cranky Life. Subscribe to Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Coming to you on weekdays. Cranky Life sometimes on Sundays. Pull up a chair and take a seat because Cranky will always bring the heat. Cranky Life. Me say fi tell them Cranky Life. Me say fi heed them Cranky Life. On them Cranky Life. Cranky Life will be around. Cranky Life is the best in town. Me say fi heed them. Me say fi want them. Me say fi heed them. Want them, heed them, want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them, heed them, want them. Cranky Life. Cranky Life. Cranky. Heed them, want them, heed them, want them. Heed, want, heed them.